You were never just a body, the hidden awakening of consciousness. The moment you forgot who you were, there was a time before time, a silence before sound, when you existed beyond every name, every form, every story you would one day tell about yourself. You were pure awareness, infinite and untouched, watching creation unfold like waves dancing upon an endless ocean. But something happened. You fell into the dream of form. You entered a world of sensations, limits, and labels. You opened your eyes for the first time and forgot that the eyes themselves were windows of the universe looking back at itself. From that moment, you believed you were only a body. You began to call yourself me. You felt hunger, fear, desire. You saw others who looked different, and suddenly separation was born. The oneness fractured into millions of reflections, and each reflection began to search for what was lost. The divine became human, and the human began to long for the divine again. The first illusion was not death, it was identity. The belief that you were this voice in your head, this skin, this temporary shape moving through time. Yet deep down, in moments of stillness, you feel something ancient stirring. A quiet whisper, reminding you that you were never just this. Society trained you to believe otherwise. It told you that worth comes from doing, not being. That success is measured in what you own, who you impress, how you perform. And so you started chasing pieces of yourself in the external world. Approval, beauty, control, love, forgetting that the treasure you seek is the one who's searching. You scroll endlessly at comparing or wishing, forgetting that every soul you envy is just another face of your own infinite essence. You build walls to protect the identity you think you are, never realizing that the walls are built inside the prison of the mind. And yet, there's a moment, a brief pause between thoughts, a sudden silence in the noise. When the illusion flickers, you sense it. A presence watching all of it unfold, not judging, not needing, just aware. That's you, the real you, the one that existed before birth and will remain after death. What if your greatest suffering was never life itself, but your forgetfulness of who you truly are? What if the anxiety, the loneliness, the constant need to prove yourself are symptoms of a deeper amnesia, the loss of your true self beneath layers of identity and fear? You were never just a body. You were consciousness wrapped in experience, the universe observing itself through human eyes. And now, at this moment, something within you remembers. The memory is faint, like a star breaking through fog, but it's there. You can feel it. The awakening begins when you stop searching for meaning and start remembering your nature. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, expressing itself as you for a little while. So breathe, close your eyes, and listen. That silence behind your thoughts is not empty. It's full of everything you've ever been and everything you're becoming again. The journey back has begun. The lie of the mirror. Every morning, you look into the mirror and believe the story it tells. You see a face, a reflection, a body, and call it me. But the mirror never shows what you truly are. It only reflects the surface, the shape that time will one day erase. Yet you trust it more than the silence within you that has never aged. You wake up and instantly step into character, playing the role you've learned to perform. The worker, the lover, the friend, the dreamer. You dress for the part, speak the lines, smile when expected, hide when afraid. You spend years perfecting the costume until the costume becomes the cage. And when someone asks, "Who are you?" you repeat the script you were given. I'm this name, this story, this job, this body. But what if all of that is just scenery? What if the real you has never once appeared in the mirror? The mirror lies because it can only show what light can touch. But your essence lives in the dark between every breath. It's not made of atoms or skin. It's made of awareness itself. You can't see it, yet without it, nothing could be seen. Most people spend their entire lives fighting their own reflection. They hate what they see, trying to change, control, perfect it, never realizing they're at war with their own misunderstanding. They chase validation, likes, beauty, approval, polishing the mirror, not realizing the truth isn't in the glass. It's in the gaze. Every insecurity is born from forgetting that you are the observer, not the image. The reflection ages, but the observer never does. Look back through old photographs. The body changes, the eyes remain. That spark you see, the same in a child, an elder, a stranger, it's eternal. It's the same awareness wearing different masks. So why do we fear losing youth? Because we believe the mirror is all we are. We've been hypnotized to worship appearances, to measure worth in pixels and filters, to think we must constantly upgrade the illusion. But the truth is that you were never supposed to compete with reflections. You were meant to wake up from them. The mirror is a teacher. It reflects the one thing you keep forgetting, that the image is temporary, but the witness is forever. And maybe that's the hidden lesson behind every wrinkle, every scar, every passing year, that the body fades only to reveal the light behind it. Just as clouds drift to uncover the sun that never stopped shining, you were not born to be beautiful in the world's eyes. You were born to remember the beauty that no eye can see. So the next time you stand before your reflection, don't just fix your hair or adjust your expression. Look deeper, beyond the skin, beyond the story, into the space that looks back at you. That presence, silent, aware, infinite, is the truest version of you. And when you recognize it, really recognize it, the mirror breaks its spell. You stop needing to be seen because you finally see yourself. That is the beginning of awakening, the moment you realize the mirror was never meant to define you. It was meant to reveal you. The voice inside your head isn't you. There's a voice inside your head, whispering, judging, planning, fearing. And for most of your life, you've believed that voice was you. It speaks in your tone, uses your memories, even argues with itself. Yet if you listen closely, you'll realize something extraordinary. You're not the one speaking. You're the one listening. That realization changes everything. Because the moment you recognize the difference between the voice and the awareness hearing it, you begin to wake up from the trance. The mind is a storyteller, and it never stops. It builds worlds out of words, memories, and expectations. It creates characters, villains, heroes, victims, saviors, and then convinces you that you are one of them. You start reacting to the story instead of writing it. You become trapped inside a narrative that was never real to begin with. Think about it. When the voice says, "I'm not good enough," who's hearing that? Who's aware of that sentence echoing through your skull? There's something deeper, silent, aware, untouched, observing the noise. That's the real you. But the voice wants control. It thrives on drama, because drama keeps you identified with it. Every time you argue, defend, complain, you're feeding the mind's need to stay alive. It fears silence, because in silence, it disappears. That's why meditation feels uncomfortable at first. Sitting in stillness confronts you with the chaos you've ignored. The voice grows louder, desperate, restless. But if you don't run, if you just listen, you'll notice something powerful. The noise fades, but you remain. You exist even when the thoughts stop. That means you were never the thoughts, and yet look at the world. Billions of people lost inside their heads, reacting not to life itself, but to the commentary about it. Someone says something small, and the voice interprets it as an attack. And suddenly anger rises, not because of the words, but because of the story the mind told about them. You see, suffering isn't created by life. It's created by the voice interpreting life. The mind isn't evil, it's just afraid. It was designed to protect you, to analyze dangers, to help you survive. But survival is not living. And when the voice becomes the master, the soul becomes the prisoner. The awakening begins when you stop believing every thought you think. Every spiritual teacher throughout history has pointed to this same truth. You are not the voice, you are the awareness behind it. Jesus called it the kingdom within. The Buddha called it the cessation of suffering. Modern science calls it consciousness. The name doesn't matter. The experience does. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. When you realize the voice isn't you, life becomes lighter. Emotions still pass through you, but they no longer define you. You start to witness life unfold. Like a movie you can finally watch without being trapped in the plot. And in that quiet awareness, something miraculous happens. Peace. Not the kind that comes from control, but the peace that comes from surrender. You stop trying to silence the mind and start listening without attachment. You stop fighting the storm and start realizing you are the sky. Because in truth, you were never the noise. You were the stillness that held it all. The voice inside your head isn't you. There's a voice inside your head, whispering, judging, planning, fearing. And for most of your life, you've believed that voice was you. It speaks in your tone, uses your memories, even argues with itself. Yet if you listen closely, you'll realize something extraordinary. You're not the one speaking, you're the one listening. That realization changes everything, because the moment you recognize the difference between the voice and the awareness hearing it, you begin to wake up from the trance. The mind is a storyteller, and it never stops. It builds worlds out of words, memories, and expectations. It creates characters, villains, heroes, victims, saviors, and then convinces you that you are one of them. You start reacting to the story instead of writing it. You become trapped inside a narrative that was never real to begin with. Think about it. When the voice says, "I'm not good enough," who's hearing that? Who's aware of that sentence echoing through your skull? There's something deeper, silent, aware, untouched, observing the noise. That's the real you. But the voice wants control. It thrives on drama, because drama keeps you identified with it. Every time you argue, defend, complain, you're feeding the mind's need to stay alive. It fears silence, because in silence, it disappears. That's why meditation feels uncomfortable at first. Sitting in stillness confronts you with the chaos you've ignored. The voice grows louder, desperate, restless. But if you don't run, if you just listen, you'll notice something powerful. The noise fades, but you remain. You exist even when the thoughts stop. That means you were never the thoughts. And yet, look at the world. Billions of people lost inside their heads, reacting not to life itself, but to the commentary about it. Someone says something small, and the voice interprets it as an attack. And suddenly anger rises. Not because of the words, but because of the story the mind told about them. You see, suffering isn't created by life. It's created by the voice interpreting life. The mind isn't evil. It's just afraid. It was designed to protect you, to analyze danger, to help you survive. But survival is not living. And when the voice becomes the master, the soul becomes the prisoner. The awakening begins when you stop believing every thought you think. Every spiritual teacher throughout history has pointed to this same truth. You are not the voice. You are the awareness behind it. Jesus called it the kingdom within. The Buddha called it the cessation of suffering. Modern science calls it consciousness. The name doesn't matter, the experience does. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. When you realize the voice isn't you, as life becomes lighter. Emotions still pass through you, but they no longer define you. You start to witness life unfold, like a movie you can finally watch without being trapped in the plot. And in that quiet awareness, something miraculous happens, peace. Not the kind that comes from control, but the peace that comes from surrender. You stop trying to silence the mind and start listening without attachment. You stop fighting the storms and start realizing you are the sky. Because in truth, you were never the noise. You were the stillness that held it all. The hidden architecture of reality. Reality isn't what it seems. It never was. What you call the world is not something outside of you. It's a projection unfolding within consciousness itself. Everything you touch, see, and feel arises within the field of awareness that you are. Look around. Every object, every sound, every sensation appears inside your perception. Without awareness, none of it would exist for you. Yet you've been taught to believe that consciousness lives inside the brain, as if awareness were a byproduct of matter. But what if it's the other way around? What if matter is the byproduct of awareness? Every mystic, every visionary, every enlightened scientist who dared to look beyond the veil has whispered the same truth, that consciousness is not in the body. The body is in consciousness. Think of a dream. When you dream at night, a whole world appears, people, places, sensations, and it feels completely real. But when you wake up, you realize the dream was made of mind. Now ask yourself, how do you know that this waking world isn't the same? You see, the dream never ends. It just changes density. Modern physics is beginning to catch up. Quantum fields, entanglement, non-locality, all hint at a universe that is fundamentally conscious, interconnected, and responsive. Thoughts influence matter. Observation changes outcomes. Intention shapes possibility. The cosmos itself behaves like a mirror, reflecting the energy you emit. Every emotion, every thought, every vibration you release ripples through this field of consciousness. It attracts experiences that match its frequency. This isn't magic, it's resonance. But here's the hidden architecture. Reality is not something happening to you. It's something happening through you. The observer and the observed are two sides of the same infinite coin. When you believe you are separate, the world appears divided. Good and bad, success and failure, life and death. But from the level of consciousness, there is no division, only transformation. The wave crashes, but the ocean remains. So much of human suffering comes from forgetting this unity. You think life is happening against you, when it's actually happening for your awakening. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every silence is the universe shaping your remembering. The hidden architecture of reality is designed to evolve awareness, to stretch the soul beyond comfort until it recalls its own infinite nature. When you shift from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What is this trying to show me?" you step out of victimhood and into creation. You begin to realize that what you call destiny is consciousness organizing itself through your choices. And suddenly, the random becomes meaningful, the painful becomes sacred, the ordinary becomes divine. Because the truth is, life is not a test, it's a revelation. The universe isn't judging you, it's introducing you to yourself. So the next time reality feels heavy, remember, the architect is within. The world is your reflection, built from the blueprints of your awareness. Change the blueprint, and the walls of limitation begin to dissolve. You were never trapped inside reality. Reality was always inside you. The forgotten language of energy. Everything is energy, vibrating, flowing, speaking a language you once understood, long before you learned to talk, before words shaped your thoughts. You were fluent in the silent frequency of existence. You could feel when someone loved you, when a room was tense, when nature called your soul to stillness. You didn't analyze it, you sensed. But as you grew older, the world taught you to trust noise over feeling, logic over intuition, surface over depth. You stopped listening to the quiet signals that once guided you. You forgot the language of energy, yet it never stopped speaking. Every thought you think, every emotion you hold, radiates a frequency into the field around you. Fear contracts it, love expands it, anger distorts it, gratitude harmonizes it. You're like a living transmitter, constantly shaping your reality through invisible waves of emotion and intent. You've felt this. When you walk into a room after an argument, the air feels heavy. When someone genuinely smiles at you, you light up. It's not imagination, it's vibration. Everything communicates in energy before it ever becomes form. Science now calls it coherence. Spirituality has called it harmony for thousands of years. Two words mean one truth. What you are internally shapes what you experience externally. The forgotten language of energy is the original prayer, not spoken in words, but in resonance. When you hold peace in your heart, peace responds. When you live in fear, the world mirrors it back. The universe doesn't hear what you say. It feels what you mean. And this is where awakening becomes practical. Because once you remember this, you reclaim your creative power. You stop waiting for miracles and start realizing you are one. The secret is alignment, not control, not force, but frequency. You cannot fake energy. You cannot deceive the field. You attract what you are, not what you pretend to be. So if you want love, become it. If you seek abundance, vibrate gratitude. If you desire peace, stop rehearsing chaos. The energy you send is the life you live. But why do so many people feel disconnected? Because they've built static around their own signal. Constant distraction, overthinking, emotional repression. All these things clog the channel. They block the current that once flowed freely through your soul. You can feel it when you're aligned. Time slows down. Intuition sharpens. Synchronicities appear. Life stops being random and starts being responsive. It's as if the universe begins to whisper back to you in your own forgotten tongue. This is the true communication between soul and cosmos, not words, but energy in motion. To awaken is to remember how to feel again, deeply, honestly, without judgment, to breathe without resistance, to love without needing, to live as vibration, not reaction. And when you do, you rediscover what the ancients knew all along, that creation is not something you do, it's something you allow. You were never meant to chase the light. You are the light, learning how to shine clearly again. The shadow of forgetting. Every soul carries a shadow, not the darkness you fear, but the part of you that forgot the light. It's the weight you feel when you wake up anxious for no reason, the ache behind your smile, the exhaustion of pretending to be okay when you're not. The shadow is not your enemy, it's your echo. It follows you, whispering the truths you buried to survive. At some point, you were told that parts of you were unacceptable, your anger, your sadness, your longing. You learned to hide them to be loved, to be safe, to belong, and little by little, you began to lose pieces of yourself. That's how forgetting begins, not all at once, but through tiny betrayals of your own truth. Every time you said, "I'm fine," when you weren't. Every dream you postponed to please others. Every boundary you swallowed to avoid rejection. Each act was a small funeral for your authenticity. and the shadow kept the memories. Now, when you feel unexplainable heaviness, when self-sabotage returns right before something good happens, that's the shadow asking to be seen. It's the forgotten part of you trying to come home. But most people run. They distract themselves with noise, work, scrolling, anything but silence. Because silence reveals what they've avoided, themselves. Yet you cannot heal what you refuse to face. The shadow will follow you until you stop and turn toward it. And when you do, something miraculous happens. You realize it's not darkness at all, it's unloved light. Every wound you've tried to escape contains wisdom. Every emotion you've suppressed holds energy, waiting to be reclaimed. The pain isn't punishment, it's information. It's the soul saying, "You left me here." To awaken is not to reject the shadow, but to integrate it, to bring awareness where shame once lived. It's to hold your fear without becoming it, to look at your sadness and whisper, "You can stay." When you stop fighting yourself and peace begins. The irony is that what you call darkness was never against you. It was guiding you back to wholeness. Without night, you'd never see the stars. Without heartbreak, you'd never learn compassion. The shadow exists to remind you what light truly means, and this is the part of awakening most people avoid. Because it's not glamorous, it's raw, uncomfortable, humbling, but it's also sacred. It's where false identities dissolve and truth begins to breathe again. So if you're walking through darkness right now, don't curse it, sit with it. Ask it what it's trying to show you. The shadow doesn't need to be destroyed, it needs to be embraced. Because once you love the parts of you that no one clapped for, you become untouchable, whole, free. And in that wholeness, the shadow no longer haunts you. It becomes your ally, a reminder that light is not something you earn, it's something you remember. The silence between thoughts. There's a place you rarely visit, not because it's far away, but because it's hidden in plain sight. It lives between your thoughts, beneath the noise, behind every heartbeat. It's the silence you've been running from, and the peace you've been searching for. Most people fear silence. They fill every moment with distraction, conversation, sound, as if quiet were an enemy. But silence is not the absence of life. It's the presence of awareness. It's the background upon which everything appears. Without it, even the most beautiful music couldn't exist. Listen closely. There's a space before a thought arises, and a space after it fades. In that tiny pause, you disappear, or rather the you that worries disappears. What remains is presence, pure, still, alive. That is the doorway to your true self. But the mind resists. It fears what it cannot control. It tells you silence is boring, useless, uncomfortable. And so you stay trapped in mental noise, rehearsing the past, predicting the future, never realizing that the peace you crave exists only now, in the space between. The masters throughout history discovered this. They called it prayer and meditation, communion and stillness, different names for the same homecoming. The silence between thoughts is the bridge connecting the finite to the infinite. It's where consciousness remembers itself. When you touch that silence even for a moment, something shifts. The world doesn't change. Your perception does. You stop seeing through the filter of fear and start seeing through the lens of being. Everything feels clearer, lighter, more alive. It's not that thoughts vanish forever. They just lose their power to define you. You realize that thoughts are like clouds. They drift across the sky of your awareness. You can watch them without becoming the storm. In that realization lies freedom. The silence between thoughts isn't empty. It's full of intelligence. It knows what to do without you telling it. It breathes your lungs, beats your heart, grows the trees, moves the stars. When you align with it, life begins to flow effortlessly through you instead of around you. But you must choose to listen, to pause, to be. Start small. A single conscious breath, a quiet sunrise, a moment of stillness before reacting. That's all it takes to enter the gap, the sacred pause that connects you to everything. Over time, you'll notice that the silence follows you, even in chaos. It hums beneath the surface, even in pain. It whispers peace. It becomes your constant companion, your invisible anchor in a world addicted to noise. And then, one day, you realize that the silence was never missing. You were. Because in truth, you were never the voice, nor the thought, nor the storm. You were always the space that holds it all, the timeless silence watching itself come alive. The reconnection. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the search begins to turn inward. When you realize that every path you've walked, every success, every failure, every heartbreak, was never about reaching something outside, but about remembering what's inside. This is the moment of reconnection, the moment you stop chasing and start aligning, the moment you no longer ask, "Who am I supposed to be?" but instead whisper, "Who am I, really?" You start to see patterns, coincidences that aren't coincidences, people showing up at the exact time you need them, lessons repeating until you finally understand them. It's as if the universe has been speaking to you all along, and you're just now beginning to listen. That's what awakening feels like. Not an explosion of light, but a quiet recognition. The sense that life has always been orchestrating your return to yourself. You reconnect first with presence, then with intuition, and then with everything. Intuition becomes your compass. You no longer overthink. You feel your way forward. The mind still whispers doubts, but the heart speaks louder. You begin to trust the invisible again, and that trust transforms everything. Reconnection is not about isolation from the world. It's the opposite. You start to feel life breathing through you. You sense the energy of others, the pulse of the planet, the sacred rhythm weaving all things together. You remember that the universe isn't happening around you. It's happening through you. And with that remembrance, compassion awakens. You stop judging people as broken or lost. You see that everyone is walking the same path, just at different stages of remembering. The angry are hurting. The cruel are disconnected. The lost are simply searching. You stop taking things personally, because you understand that everyone's pain is just another form of forgetfulness. You start responding instead of reacting, loving instead of fearing, listening instead of defending. The ego loosens its grip, and life begins to feel lighter, even in chaos. That's the essence of reconnection, not perfection, but awareness. You no longer need to escape yourself to find peace. You realize peace was what you are. When you reconnect, you start to feel guided, not by external signs alone, but by the deep knowing within. You begin to notice synchronicities as gentle confirmations from the field, proof that your frequency is aligned again. Every breath becomes sacred. Every moment becomes alive with meaning. You realize the divine has never been distant. It was simply waiting for you to remember. The reconnection doesn't make you superhuman. It makes you real again, present, whole, awake. And once you touch that state, you can never fully forget it again. You may drift, but you'll always know the way back. Through silence, through presence, through love. Because reconnection isn't a destination. It's a relationship between you and the universe, remembering each other through every heartbeat. The awakening of vision. When the reconnection deepens, something extraordinary begins to unfold. Your vision changes. Not the eyes, but the way you see. What once appeared ordinary now feels luminous, gone alive, purposeful. It's as if a veil lifts, revealing that the world was never random. It was coded with meaning all along. This is the awakening of vision. You begin to notice beauty in places you once ignored. A stranger's kindness, the sound of rain, the quiet rhythm of your own breath. The small things start to feel sacred because they are. Awareness transforms perception, and perception creates reality. When your consciousness expands, your sight expands with it. You stop seeing through the filters of fear, judgment, and separation, and start seeing through the eyes of wholeness. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What is this showing me?" The awakening of vision doesn't give you new eyes. It gives you new meaning. You start to recognize the hidden order behind the apparent chaos. The way every challenge has been guiding you toward truth. The way every ending was actually a beginning wearing a disguise. It's like remembering a dream you forgot you were having. The images are the same, but now you understand their purpose. You begin to perceive connections, how your thoughts ripple into outcomes, how emotions attract experiences, how energy responds to intention. Life becomes interactive, intelligent, participatory. You're no longer a spectator, you're a co-creator. The more you awaken, the more transparent the world becomes. You see people not for their masks, but for their essence. You feel their energy before they speak. You sense their pain beneath their anger, their innocence beneath their pride. Judgment dissolves, replaced by compassion. And compassion is a higher form of vision. When you look at the world through awakened eyes, you see unity where others see division. You see cycles where others see chaos. You see evolution where others see loss. This doesn't mean you ignore pain. It means you understand it. You learn to hold suffering without becoming it, to witness without collapsing. That is true vision, the ability to see clearly while remaining free. And as your perception shifts, so does your reality. Because reality is perception expressed through belief. The more love you see, the more love appears. The more peace you feel, the more peace unfolds. The mirror of existence responds to your inner gaze. You realize then that enlightenment isn't about escaping the world, it's about seeing it correctly. The divine was never hidden, only misperceived. When your vision awakens, you see God in the ordinary, meaning in the mundane, eternity in the present. You start walking slower, speaking softer, loving deeper. You stop searching for miracles because you've become one. And that's when life stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like sacred participation. You are no longer the observer. You are the artist, painting reality with the colors of awareness. This is the awakening of vision, when seeing becomes knowing, and knowing becomes love. The return to infinity. And now the circle closes. What began as separation ends in remembrance. The story of being human, of forgetting, seeking, falling, rising, has always been the story of the infinite meeting itself through the finite. You came here not to escape the divine, but to experience it through touch, through breath, through love. This is the return to infinity. You start to see that there was never a distance between you and the universe. The separation was only a dream of perception, a necessary illusion, so consciousness could discover itself. Without forgetting, there could be no remembering. Without limitation, there could be no expansion. Without you, the infinite could never whisper, "I am." Every life, every soul, every heartbeat is part of a vast cosmic rhythm. Stars burn, oceans rise, hearts break, and still awareness watches. Silent, eternal, whole. You were never lost, only exploring. Never broken, only transforming. Never small and only pretending to be. When you look back, you begin to see it. Every pain was a teacher, every delay a protection, every ending a doorway. Life was never punishing you. It was preparing you. The path wasn't leading you away from home, it was home all along. This is the secret the awakened remember. You are not in time. Time is in you. You are not in the universe. The universe unfolds within your consciousness. You were never just a body. You were and always will be infinity dreaming in form. And as that realization sinks in, fear begins to dissolve. The need to prove, to chase, to control, all fades. What remains is presence, vast, serene, unshakable. You become the witness and the wonder, the silence and the song. That's the freedom no one can give or take. The peace that doesn't depend on conditions. The love that has no opposite. And now, as this remembrance awakens within you, the purpose of the journey becomes clear. It was never about becoming something more. It was about remembering what you already are. Consciousness disguised as a human, rediscovering its own infinite reflection. So breathe deeply. Feel the space within your chest expand, as if the entire cosmos were inhaling through you. Because it is. Every breath is proof. The infinite lives in you, moves through you, and speaks as you. You were never separate from the light. You are the light, learning how to see itself. And now, as you awaken, remember this. Your awakening isn't yours alone. Every act of awareness you embody becomes a spark in someone else's darkness. Every moment you choose love over fear, truth over illusion, presence over distraction, the whole world shifts with you. This is how the infinite expands, one awakened soul at a time. So if these words found you, it's not by accident. Something within you was ready to remember, ready to return. And if your heart is beating faster right now, if you feel the quiet electricity of truth moving through you, don't ignore it. That's your soul saying, I'm home. You were never just a body. You were never just a story. You were, and still are, the universe awakening to itself. No, this is not the end. It's the beginning of your remembering. If you felt this, stay, subscribe, join the awakening. Because the next word could change everything.